Welcome back to the channel, fuckers. I don't know if you can say that actually. I don't care. I don't give a shit. What up, nerds? You blue-footed boobs. You blue-footed boob. What up, nerds? You blue-footed boobies. Welcome back. If you're welcome to. I don't think you've been here before. Nah, you've been here before. I put out content once a year. Great uploading schedule. I've decided to upload a video like this one. Everything I do is new, so it's all pretty much an experiment as I go along with it. I'm not really a painting instructor. This isn't really what I want this all to be, but I do want to paint while I talk to you. So this is top 10 videos to watch while you're driving or some shit, while you're out there, while you're washing dishes. Top 10 dishwashing videos right here, baby. Quality content. The whole reason I even really started to put this video together was just because I've heard this saying for like 10 years, right? People say shit all the time, dumb shit too. Also, I hope you don't mind the dogs that are barking in the background here. They're super loud. My neighbors do not care to train those fucking things. There's a saying I hear all the time from people very often. It's a little less common now, which is probably pretty good. Maybe just because I'm a little older or something, but people say things like I hate kids. They say I hate kids like all the time. And I don't think that is the whole story. I also don't think it's fair to say. And this isn't a video about telling you what to say. I'm not the fucking guy to do that. I say whatever I want pretty much whenever I feel like it. But there is definitely a precedent of like hating kids. And I think that's now no longer said as often as it is just acted out. Like, people just don't like kids. Nobody wants to have them. Nobody likes them. Everything is made and built with the intent for adults now. I don't know if you've noticed, there's just like no play places anymore at like restaurants. There's like no, a lot of things that were once for kids have been remade for adults, which is of course like to recapture, all that audience. But, it is kind of sad, right? Like, there's just genuinely a lack of warmth and friendliness that used to be present, I think, for the kiddos. And that really does kind of suck. So that's kind of what this video is about. And that's sort of what I want to touch on. If you are someone I'm talking about, please don't take super hard offense to this. I'm making this for you. This is, baby, Shay. Hey, this is for you, okay? This has always been for you. But anyway, I should probably get to painting on this shit, but yeah. So let's get started on this thing. All right, so the guy that is supposed to be stuccoing the outside of the house unexpectedly just showed up to do the job right now. So if you hear scraping and singing on the other side of this wall, that's who that is. A lovely, fun little guest. Dude, guests on on this video. That's sick. What a production quality for sure. So the first thing I wanted to kick this off with, point I wanted to make first, was just that being a kid is tough. Being a kid is hard. And like, being a kid was already kind of tough to do. Being a kid, if you can do me a huge favor and just like remember what it was like being a kid yourself, that shit was not easy. That shit was like tough. Part of what makes being a kid tough is you just like understand things, but it's also like the fact that like people don't understand you. And I'm pretty sure that when I was a kid, I didn't hear people didn't like kids too often. I heard it a few times, but I didn't hear it a whole lot growing up. If people didn't like me, they would usually act in such a way they wouldn't like tell me about it. They wouldn't be like, oh, you're a kid, I hate kids. Most people don't do that now, I guess, but you definitely like hear it more often. And I think I've definitely seen kids like being present while someone says that, and like the look on their face was pretty tough. God damn, that is loud. But yeah, so, now imagine you're a kid, and you just hear people saying that all the time already, knowing that you don't understand anything. Nobody understands you. You're confused about a lot of shit. And you're trying your best. Most of the time when you're a kid, you actually do try. I mean, at least in my experience, I was giving it my damnedest. I was doing my absolute best to be the best kid I could be. I don't mean like being a kid. I just mean like doing my best, Everything was like, why not when you're a kid, right? There's nothing really, there's no like deep emotional wound that like keeps you from trying your best or something just yet. So to me, it was very much like, let's just do that. And as hard as I tried, if like someone was still just like, I don't know, try all you want, I'm gonna hate you. That would kind of suck. Being a kid is it's just hard. It's just hard being a kid. Also, the future is super unknown. I'm talking about kids now, like today. We also fell into that category. I'm Gen Z. If you're a millennial, if you're Gen Alpha, if you're a boomer, whatever. I'm skipping someone. X. I always mix X. Miss X. It's my mom. So, like, I don't know. I feel like Gen Alpha is really the group I'm talking about mostly in this. And I want to say that they have it, like, really tough. Like, nobody fucking knows, like, what's going to happen at all. AI is going to take everything that they could possibly have hoped to work towards for a career field in a lot of cases, it seems like. And we don't know what that's going to mean for everybody. Who knows what countries will exist when they're adults by this point? Who knows what borders will be different? Who knows how America is going to look like? Obviously, I'm an American, so that's where like my focus is. But who knows how the whole world is going to fucking operate, you know? Everything is so like such a fucking maybe about everything, you know? And I think that really sucks. I think that really, really does suck for the kiddos. That they just like have no idea what's all going to be happening, what's all going on. And you know what? I think that part of that is even like with us, like we're just like set up to fail. This is mostly in regards to like health and mental health, right? There's like a plethora of things people are missing in their lives that is good for them. That's everything that everybody probably already knows on this corner of YouTube, like religion and community, shit like that. And I think that really sucks. A lot of those things were what held a sense of uniformity and like connection with other people. And I feel like a lot of people have really tried to siphon what they can out of those things without having those things, which failed miserably. And everybody's super lonely and depressed and sad. Now, here's the real kicker. This isn't about us as kids. This is about the kids right now. So the people who are lonely, fucked up, and sad are currently raising the people who are coming next, all right? And those kids are also going to be probably pretty fucked up. And that really sucks because they obviously didn't ask for that. They're just kids, dude. It's like the title of the fucking video. They just got here. Hell, we just got here. And already we're looked to fix all these big ass problems that, no offense, a lot of people before us left us. Some of them showed up. Some of them are our doing, and some of them are, I guess, something we inherited, right? And if your mind went to boomers, you're not half wrong on that. Sorry if I'm making hella noise by this microphone trying to close this fucking paint. I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Windsor. Just kidding. Nobody's fucking sponsoring me. But you know, it really does just like suck. Like that, it really is not a great time right now to be a kid, just because of those things. Right now, it's actually being talked about. Finally, the issue with like health with like food for kids. People are finally realizing like how much your diet actually contributes to like your quality of life. Sorry, I'm mixing paint down here. I'm mixing up some gobbledygook. The paint on the canvas is a little too light for my taste. How about you? Damn. I won't do much. Whatever. So you know, there's that whole issue, and like kids are like set up to be mentally unhealthy with like social media, with their parents always working, everybody being super busy, everybody hating kids, saying shit like that. It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a real fucking mess if we don't figure this shit out and soon. I think that is really like its own tragedy for sure. Along with what they're eating, along with like them not having fucking, I don't know, proper posture. School is so fucking invasive. It was like that when we were kids. I thought it was so stupid that we had to have hours of homework. I'm like, bitch, if you can't do this in like 8 hours in the day that we give you of my life, then you're just doing it wrong. I refuse to do homework. I just didn't do it. You can quote me on that. Fuck homework. It's bad. I just don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it's necessary. I think it is genuinely like harmful. The last thing I want to touch out about being hard being a kid is just that it's like they're just still figuring themselves out. They're still figuring themselves out. A lot of the a lot of the feelings kids have, they don't totally understand. And like I said, they're being set up to fail. A lot of kids are suffering from some really intense social anxieties. A lot of kids are being subjected to things that maybe they shouldn't be subjected to. And unfortunately, those things range all the way from like certain kinds of abuse to like porn addiction, being younger and younger and younger as time goes on. People are literally starting to watch porn for the first time at like 9 years old. And here's what's actually crazy. They tried to conduct a study at one point to see what was the effects of pornography on a child's mind. And I don't mean that like they were having kids watch porn. That would be pretty fucked up. But they were just trying to see about like, compare some people who watched porn as a child, unfortunately, and people who didn't. And this study couldn't fucking happen. Take a wild guess. Why? Because no such person existed. They could not find a single person in the country, United States, who hadn't seen porn. Like, I couldn't find a big enough control group. There's very few people who are in that category, which really sucks. I think that is horrible. That's terrible news. And that's going to manifest into something real fucked up. We're seeing it a little bit now where everything is continually sexualized all the time. People are sexualizing themselves when I could have sworn not 10 minutes ago, culturally speaking, we were talking about how everything is so sexualized and this and that. Everybody was like, fuck it, we're going to rebel. We're so sexy. And now like every like major pop artist for young women is like basically a stripper that does karaoke on stage. They literally have their boobs out constantly. I cannot go anywhere on any of my social media accounts with someone having their tits out. It's a horrible, horrible time to be a kid. That's just being the honest truth. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, big point, big thing, big idea. Stay with me here. Being a parent is hard. Being a parent is really tough. The economy is ass. But on top of that, being a parent was already hard. Everybody knew that. Everyone knew being a parent came with its own little things that were essential to being a good parent, along with, having to care for a child, you have to care for yourself. And if you're, if you're, I guess, halfway decent at being in a relationship, you have to care for your partner as well. And that being like your main person who's going to help you take care of these kiddos. Now, if you and your spouse are just like having issues, then you got to take care of all this other bullshit. We live in a time where just everybody's trying to get in your fucking wallet constantly. And everybody's trying to get into your mind and into your heart and into your brain and into your house, right? Everything's super invasive. Everything is super demanding of you. You don't have time to de-stress. You can't take a fucking day off work. And people who don't have kids are already dealing with all that nonsense. Imagine having them. That is a recipe for fucking disaster. Everybody's saying some things like marriage is an old-fashioned idea. It doesn't work. It's like, I don't really know if you get to make that case. Like I said, everybody's a fucking porn-addicted maniac. And at the same time, there's also another issue, which is nobody can spend time with each other. Nobody knows how to talk to each other. And nobody can be honest with each other. Way too many reasons to cheat are available. And, like, I'm not saying that, like, cheating is okay or understandable. I'm not excusing that. But it is, like, we're in a time where just, like, marriages don't stick at all. And kids are experiencing divorce very often. And as a result of that, we already knew divorce was a big issue for children. We always knew this. We always knew that was like a really big thing on kids. But now it's just becoming so common, like nobody has a dad, like, shit like that. Like literally it's way too common. I thought people were like special when they didn't have their parents together, or like somebody passed away and that was their parent or something. But like now it is like way too common. It's very, very normal. Again, same issue with the kids. The future is unknown. That affects kids as much as it affects their fucking parents. If you are a parent and you have to deal with that sounds really tough. Yeah, it just sounds like a really hard thing to worry about. Knowing that like at any time, everything can just go under, no warning needed. It's just like, hey, you're fired, or hey, AI can do your job, right? Being a parent is just so difficult because of some of these different reasons, and the future being unknown is definitely still a contributor to parents as much as it is to kids. For very obvious reasons. I don't think I need to go too in depth on that. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. Back to the painting. I think I'm starting to mess up my tones here. Yeah, just a little bit. Oh well, I'll correct these. I just want to get something on the canvas. For those of you who paint, you probably know what I mean by that. It's just better to have something there and correct it than to have nothing and then just think about the perfect way to approach it, because you're going to correct something anyway. So, go all in. I wanted to say, like, fear and anger is a big deal. There's just there's a lot of fear and a lot of anger in people, and you have to deal with that all the time. You have to everybody's like generally mentally ill right now. I say words like everybody, maybe not everybody is, but a lot of people are. A lot of people are just like not okay. And you have to deal with angry and scared people way too often. People you don't know, people who react in really harsh ways. Nobody has any warmth or compassion for each other, not as much as they used to anyway. And I do think that there is a, what do I even say? There's just like a level of genuine uncomfort in everyday life. Feelings of like despair, feelings of anger, feelings of rage, confusion, just because everything you do feels like you're taking 1 step forward and 10 steps back. And I do mean as dramatic as 10 steps fucking back. This inflation shit is not the move. It has been very difficult on people. People are having trouble getting groceries. People are having trouble getting gas. I remember back when I was a kid, getting a ride was like whatever, but now it's like gas money because nothing's cheap. Everything's tough. You just can't afford to help other people because you can barely afford to fucking help yourself. I just feel for people, man. I understand it. And being a parent during such a thing is difficult, and understanding how to regulate those emotions is something that people never really had to deal with, at least not on a grand scale like this. And like I said, we're already kind of fucked up. Imagine having to raise kids with that. So there is that. And then, of course, a very big one, near and dear to my heart. I am clearly a black person, if you haven't figured that out, because you're not watching, you're just listening. Still appreciate you. But one of the blacks right here, 13%. There is a... or 50%, depending what statistic you're looking at. I do think that there is a huge lack of fathers. I don't think we know this. This is very normal, unfortunately. I briefly touched on it a second ago. There's just like no dads in people's lives. Moms and dads are just so important to people. They're huge. They're crucial. Everybody who I know had a good father in their life, they are doing pretty damn fucking good. And even if they're not, they're okay with that. They're like willing and comfortably able to fail. They seem to be more willing to do that. They seem to be a bit more comfortable in their own skin. And that sounds pretty great. I did not grow up with a father for much of my life. I do not have one right now. And so, those things are tough. I see how they fucked me up in certain ways. Some ways that I did not understand until I got older, and I didn't really recognize, couldn't really recognize the behavior until I really gave it some extra thought. And I think that really sucks. It's been a problem in many different ways. But the thing is, when you're raising your kiddos with everything I've already mentioned, and they don't have their dads around, again, very, very common. Not having a father is like one of the biggest predictors of of being a criminal, especially if you're like a boy, which really blows. It's one of the biggest everybody in prison, like if you take everybody in prison and you like saw how many of them didn't have fathers in their lives, it's just like a really common, it's like way too prevalent to not pay attention to. And on top of that, people like don't know how to be fathers, because that was already a problem. Remember, a lot of these issues are going to be like generational. If it starts once, it goes for 3 or 4 generations ahead. So like if one person in their life doesn't have their dad, they're more likely to do the same thing to their own children. And then it just like keeps on giving, gift that keeps on giving. And I think that shit's really lame. I think that is, if you hear like little whenever I take a step, I'm like, it's like you guys ever seen that show Dexter? There's like a plastic on the floor in case I spill this shit. Looks like I'm about to kill somebody in this chick. Yeah, so there's that aspect to everything, which is lame. And even if someone does decide to stick around, it's an uphill battle because they don't know how to be a dad. That's a problem I will be 100% facing as I get older, because I want to have kids one day, right? But like when I do, I'm gonna have to kind of play it by ear to some extent. I'm gonna have to emulate some of the good men I knew in my life, and there wasn't a whole lot, to do the best I can with it, and that is what it is. I'm looking forward to that challenge, but It is a challenge nonetheless. I don't get to just like lean on another man in my family for advice because no such person exists. But that is an uphill battle for sure. Spent a lot of time on this parent one just because it is a big deal. It's paramount. So big idea, big concept. Number 3. There's only like 6. Don't worry, chill out. Dopamine detox, monk mode. Get on me. Get on this shit. Big idea. You suck. It's you. You probably this is an important one. This is actually probably what it is. It's just that you suck. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's get some more simplistic ideas down first. First one is you don't really exist. People who say they hate kids, they're just kids. They're just kids. You're just saying this because you heard other people say this. You're saying this because you're an asshole and you've decided to identify with being an asshole, or you're bored and you've decided to identify with being bored, or you want to fit in with the crowd that hates everybody, and kids are everybody as well. So you want to identify with them. Like, you just don't like really think for yourself. You just say things. And if this is hitting hard, if you feel like attacked by me saying that, that's all the more reason to do some self-reflection and understand what it is that I'm telling you. I'm telling you that your life hasn't even like technically started if this is how you operate by default. You guys can see like my procrastination here. I do not want to get on her face, dude. I'm so scared. Fuck it. I'm putting something down. You just don't really exist. I think I could probably make a whole other video about that. Everybody in their life is at some point on autopilot, but if you're just like constantly there, that's a huge issue, and you do need to figure that out. What I wanted to... Okay. What I wanted to move on to is just that you're bitter. You're probably you potentially could be a somewhat bitter person. And bitter people can always be better. And I have been a bitter person many times. I have been someone who didn't really exist at times. And, you know, like, these two things are possible for you to get up. By the way, everything I'm about to say about the you suck category is something that totally applies to me too. Plenty. That's why I feel like I can talk about it, because everybody's been there. I'm not the expert on sucking, but you are. But I just I don't know everything, but I know something, dude. I've lived life, right? And being bitter sucks. Being bitter really blows, and it makes you not fun to be around. But it makes you unfortunately start to turn that outwardly to people who maybe aren't bitter. And kids usually fall in that category. They're not bitter yet, if they're going to be. They're kiddos. They're not doing anything to you. They're just kids. Second to last one here is that you're a coward. You're scared. You're scared to hold the kid. You're scared to be around kids. You're scared that you're going to say the wrong thing around the kids. You're scared that everybody around you is going to think you're not handling the kid well. You're just afraid of a kid. And that's why you hate kids. You hate kids because they talk to you directly. They speak to you without all the niceties getting in the way. You hate kids because you're afraid of what they'll think of you. You're afraid that the kid will reject you. These are all kinds of little reasons that maybe you probably are, I'd call someone a coward in the sense for wanting to engage with a child. Do I think you're like inherently a coward through and through? I don't know. Probably not. Everybody's got their moments of bravery, but when it comes to kids though, you're like, eesh, don't know about that one, chief. That's okay. I think it is actually okay to be all of these things. What isn't okay is not addressing them and not fixing them. And so I think that could be a contributing factor. The last one here in the you suck category is just that you're selfish. And kids, they can't give you what you can give them. That's just the reality of being a child. In fact, kids know that, and some kids feel like an inherent shame for that. They'll feel the rest of their lives that they can't give they can't give back what they've been given. And when you meet a child, they are inevitably going to be somewhat demanding of you. What do they demand of you? Sometimes your attention, sometimes your time, sometimes your money, sometimes your best foot forward. Sometimes they demand, that you hold them and keep them safe, that you are not prioritizing yourself. Sorry, I know the microphone keeps drifting away from my face. But, that is what they do, and you're too concerned with yourself to really identify the the reality of the fact that you just like are more concerned with you. You're not really worried about other people. You really do just want to make sure you're okay. And selfishness comes in different forms. I don't mean that you're like stingy necessarily. It doesn't mean that you're just like straight up like, oh, this. In fact, everything I mentioned is technically a form of selfishness, right? Being not really existing, being bitter, being a coward. All of these things can definitely fall in the category of being selfish. They all have their roots in something like that. Being a coward, you're too focused on your own self. You're too focused on being comfortable with yourself or what other people will think of you. It's all about you, 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 you. You're bitter. Why are you bitter? Because it's all about you. You've decided life sucks, and you've made that decision for this kid. You don't really exist. Okay, you've decided that you're going to be comfortable and you're going to do what everybody else does because you want to be okay, and you're actually not going to offer other people the gift of your authenticity in any form or fashion because you've decided to just merely conform to it. You're choosing your comfort there as well. So being selfish has many different forms, but in the end of the day, I can see it being probably the biggest contributor to being, to not liking kids, to hating kids. And I know I'm making some pretty harsh accusations here, because I think it's worth making. I think that the kids in question are pretty amazing. Kids can be really wonderful things. I have hated kids before. That's why I'm making this to some extent, right? I've said that before. I've meant that before. And I've been there before. And I don't plan on going back. Because I've learned to really appreciate kids for what they are and what they do and who they are. And also understanding that it's fleeting. They will not be a kid forever. You will only get to see this person as a child once. And so I think that they should be appreciated for something like that. Okay. That got a little heated. Okay. So the next reason I think... someone could say that they don't like kids. Remember, they're just kids. They're just kids. Don't freak out. Big idea, big concept. Stay with me. They don't like you. This kind of ties into the coward one, right? Just a little bit. So the first reason they might not like you is because you're scary, dude. Smile, lighten up. You're mean, right? You're just a scary person. You're someone that they are afraid to be around. You make them uncomfortable. You make them run in fear. You scare the people they respect. They scare the people that scare them, right? You're just like a domineering force. You're someone that they don't understand. They're already probably a little freaked out by life itself, and you are giving them every reason to close the door. They don't like you because you were just a scary person. Another reason that they could probably not like you is that you're just kind of a bitch. I've seen some people who are just like so ready to approach their interaction with a child with like almost animosity. Like they're almost like aggressive. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you acting like that? And this kind of stuff is, it's not going to fly, The kid's going to freak out. Or worst case, I just got paint on my microphone. Worst case, they hate you and they are like equally a bitch. Like they're just going to be even worse. Some kids are pretty good at it actually. And here's the thing, you started it, whether you know it or not. And even if you didn't, you're the adult, so you started it. All the oldists out there, shout out to you. And so now your interaction's going to go poorly. It's going to go ugly. It's going to get sour quickly. And you're going to decide from that interaction, that kid's a bitch. That's not my fault. That's them. That's because kids suck. That's because I don't like kids. I hate kids. Third one. Here's something I didn't understand actually until the other day. You stink. You just don't smell good. You're like unhygienic. Kids can like feel and tell that you're just not taking care of yourself. And kids are like not afraid to point that out. They will react in ways like, ew, like they're fucking mean. But but they're also kind of like the best thing for that. Like if you ever think like, you're the shit or something, kids will just kind of help humble you out. They'll kind of bring you down to earth a little bit. And good on them, they're honest where we can't be. And I think that that's a wonderful thing about kids. They tend to they haven't been totally integrated in all the little, niceties, the little things of human nature and society and yada yada that we do. They're just like up front. And if you stink, they will tell you. Last one here in the they don't like you category is you don't take them seriously. This is actually a really big one. You don't take kids seriously at all. And I think that really blows because kids, if you take them, this is actually how I learned that I do actually really enjoy kids. It's because I always liked, first of all, I value the truth a lot. I value honesty a lot. It sucks to hear sometimes the truth, but it is important. But the thing is if you're honest with kids, up to a point, I'm not going to tell them about sex traffickers and shit like that. But as real as those problems may be in life, but like, when a kid is telling you about something and you listen, you look them in the eye, you're talking to them, they're talking to you, right? This is a great way to tell that you're engaged in a conversation that you give a shit about. And this helps give the kiddo their first taste of what that is like. And I do think that that's really important. Kids are constantly being talked to like, oh, little sweetie, little cutie pie. But I've never liked doing that shit. I did it, but I hated it, and I don't do it anymore. Why don't I? Part of the reason I don't do that anymore is because I feel like I just want to take kids seriously. I talk to them almost like they're adults, and I don't use adult language all the time, but I do talk to them as though they're like kids. I talk to them the same way I'm talking to you right now. And I've learned that kids respond really well to that. A lot of people end up getting taken advantage of, actually. That's how they know they can take advantage of you, is if you talk like that. That little baby voice shit. Maybe it works for some people, and maybe it's necessary to some extent. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it, but it's not even about the voice. Don't focus too much on the voice. It's about taking them seriously. And you should not take everybody at their word all the time, but if you take their actions seriously, if you take their ideas seriously, their pains seriously, and you help show them solutions to problems seriously, these are important for a child's development. These are a big deal. And you should take kids seriously, especially if you want them to take you seriously. You show them what that looks like. That's a big deal. It's a really important thing. All right. And last big concept, big idea, big concept. Sometimes the kid just sucks. Happens, right? Happens to all of us. We've all been shitty kids. We've all seen a kid in that one moment in their life where they're just being kind of the fucking worst. They're kind of just being the fucking worst. And that happens. That happens from time to time. But I only have one little mini section to this big section, but that's what we're here for. That's our whole thing. Kids are seriously still figuring it out. They're just kids. They are just kids. They need the guidance that they need with everything in life, that being from walking to talking to shutting the fuck up. Kids are wonderful, and they can be horrible. A lot of people do believe human beings are inherently good. I think kids are proof that they're not. I know that sounds really contradictory to every point I just made, but it is an important point worth making for a reason. Kids are proof that we're not inherently good. Why? Because if people were inherently good, why do you need to raise them? Right? Wouldn't you just leave them in their purest state and they should be good to go? Why do you need to raise kids? Because they need to learn. They need to learn how to be better. And I know that concept is tough for people to accept, that people need to be better, but you need to be better. That is actually what you are called to do in this life. You don't get to just start from zero and say, we're good to go. That's it. You did it. You got through your hardest 9 months of your existence. That's it. Now you're brought into the world. Your mom didn't fucking abort you. You're here. And I think that is great and everything, but it is not enough. And I think that kids need to be shown the way. If you think kids suck, you should more than anybody else be actively looking to fix that, make that a better thing. Sometimes the kid just sucks, but that's what we are here for. That's what you're here for. You're not here solely to make other people, including your own kids, better, but you are an adult. You're an adult who clearly has an idea of what would be a preferable person to another. Thus, you can say, I don't like kids. I hate kids. Whatever. You apparently have an idea of what that looks like. Model it. Show them what that looks like. The best people I've known have never been people who hated kids. They've never been people who dislike kids. They've never been people who kids dislike. They've always been people who are good at what they do, have passion, had conviction, and stand firm against a child, but they also take that child seriously. They are loved by children. They are loved by adults. And let's be honest, everyone is sort of still a kid. I remember hearing that as a kid, and I was like, no, they're not. Adults think they're so cool. They think that they get to be as cool as us, too. Nah, you either an adult or a kid. The older I get, the more I realize my mom is still the same, probably 13-year-old girl she was when she came to the U.S. And the older I get, the more I realize my brain is still the same guy. I've gotten better at who I am, but the kid that I was is still here. Hell, I could leave the painting right here, horribly unfinished, and he would be like, "Now that's a painting." He's like, "How'd you do that?" I love that kid. You should love your kid. Love your inner child, dude. Be cool with those things, but also be everything that kid wanted you to be. And sometimes you don't need to do that, but have the wisdom to know the difference. So anyway, sometimes kid just sucks, but that's what we're here for. They're just kids, dude. They're just kids. This is it. This is the end of the video. They're just kids. Okay. We're just kids. I love you. I love you so much. This is an experiment. I hope it went well. I did not get very far in this painting. I was also very distracted with putting this together. But yep. Same release schedule, baby. Once a year, fuckers. We got one on the books. I love you. I love you so much. It's crazy. Take care. I'll see you on the next one, kids.